What was Venice Beach before?
Here in Venice Beach, we all know that gentrification had been creeping along for years. But in 2011, it exploded. Venice Beach has become one of the most expensive places to live in the country. Big tech moved in, driving up the costs, buying up all the real estate, and not just commercial, but residential housing too. And what hurts most is the loss of the relationships. The ma and pa shop where I used to get my salsa is now closed, making a way for a new concept restaurant. And my artist neighbor, after 17 years, has been told by her landlord that she has to move out. And what about the quirky, locally owned coffee shop that anchored our community for years? It's now closed because retail rents have doubled up to $15 a square foot. Half my neighbors are new. I mean, you can really see the difference now when you walk around Venice. There's no more open porches with people being neighborly. Now we have entire blocks with 7- and 8-foot tall gates. I'm not against change. I'm for community. And this is tearing Venice apart. We had to do something. So my good friend Grant, he's a local business owner, and he invited a bunch of our neighbors and longtime residents and our friends, and we got together in his backyard to talk about what we could do. There was about 25 of us that showed up for dinner that night. We had our eclectic musicians, our yogis, our African American and Latina neighbors who have lived in the community for decades. This was my Venice. The eclectic vibe, this kind of sense of home when I first got here. We were all talking and eating our freshly prepared foods, and that night, we cooked up a very big idea. So, how do we reconnect our community? We grow food. This is the one thing that binds us. So we decided to start this radical social experiment. A community garden with no lock gate and no membership. This is our very first street-side garden box. And why these garden boxes? Because it's open to everyone. We began building these boxes street-side on city-owned median strips. We wanted to reclaim every corner as community space. We didn't know if it was legal, and we had no idea if this would weave our community back together again. Maybe it was enough to heal us, but we weren't sure. We rolled up our sleeves and we got back to planning, and block by block, Saturday by Saturday, we did these pop-up garden parties. They were so much fun. We had fresh, healthy snacks and live local music and face painting for the kids. Neighbors came out of their houses that we had never even seen before, and they found themselves joining in. And in the course of one day, we planted 18 of these garden boxes. That was 2 years ago. Now, we have 72 garden boxes on the streets of Venice, and we grow food. Kale, collard, tomatoes, string beans, basil. It's all healthy, it's all fresh, and it's free. Each box can hold up to a dozen plants. And in California, we have 2 growing seasons. So if we stagger the planting, we will actually have more produce. And one of these boxes can feed a family of 4 their fruits and vegetables for a year. Now, our lower income neighbors have access to fresh food. And we even started giving the food away to a local food bank because we had so much of it. But they didn't know what to do with it. They didn't know how to cook the zucchini or the kale or the collard. They just looked at it because they were used to canned goods and prepackaged foods. So that gave us the opportunity to dive a little deeper in our community. And then we found the St. Joseph Center. They have this really cool program for homeless men and women to learn culinary skills and to get jobs in the food service industry. So now we donate all of our harvest to them. They have a work experience restaurant called Bread and Roses. That's Chef James, and that's Farmer Ben. We give food to them so they can make it into freshly prepared meals. And they serve it to 100 men and women every day in a restaurant-like setting. It definitely takes a lot of water, and we got a lot of flack for starting this in a drought, because it was 2015. So my good friend and neighbor, David Hertz, he's a sustainable architect. He brought a technology over to California that makes water from air. So now we get all of our water for free. And we get support from a locally owned company out in Carson that has incredible soil and organic compost, and they give it to us. And lastly, a local jewelry shop and a cool restaurant called Plant Food and Wine, they helped us through our very first fundraisers, which really jump-started us. So that dinner that night at Grant's house, it launched our vision, and now we are a registered nonprofit in the state of California, Community Healing Gardens. Because the healing, it began right away, and it continues to grow. Maybe the most amazing part was seeing all these amazing people getting together, like the millennial at the big tech company. She joined in. And then we have Albert and his dad, and their grandparents joined in. And then Roberta. She lives on 5th in Indiana, and she loves Swiss chard. So on her street, we planted it for her, and now she takes care of her boxes. It's fun to see that people really take care of these boxes. They actually water them. With their watering cans, they'll bring it out on days that we're not using our water truck. It's pretty cool. It's very inspiring. So we dove a little deeper into our community, and we wanted to work with kids, but we weren't sure how. So there's a community center on California and Electric. Some of you might know it. It's called the Vera Davis Center. And every summer they have kids coming through with nothing to do. So we planted some garden boxes there so they would have something to do that was outside in nature and to connect. And we've had 150 kids come through this summer program. And we teach them how to grow food, how to cook with it, and now they have this as a safe place. And recently, we launched at the Venice Oakwood Rec Center, which was known for drugs and violence. And now we have an after-school program with 50 youth coming through every school year. Now they have a safe place to hang out, to grow food, to learn from one another, to have exercise and fresh air, to grow veggies, and they even harvest it and bring it home to their parents. And to date, we've grown and harvested 3,000 pounds of food. We've worked with over 500 volunteers in this community and 300 children. And what better way to keep that inclusive spirit alive, but to work together and to build off of that old, beloved Venice that we all know and bridge the new one that's now emerging with the old. Everybody eats. We all know that we need to nourish our souls and our bodies. We need to embrace this. So growing it sidewalk by sidewalk, it feeds our souls along with our bodies. One garden box at a time. Thank you.